It's time for the Wrestling Observer Extra.
One more time for old time's sake.
With Dave Meltzer, right here on The Law. Live audio wrestling.
And let's go. My now smoking with the best.
Talking about trivia, Goldberg still to come right here on The Law, but just after midnight means we head to San Jose to chat with the editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. He's Dave Meltzer. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Hey, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Dave, I am well, I should say, and on Monday we heard about the wellness policy. Sort of. What did you make of the way that the Roman Reigns situation was confronted and dealt with on Raw?
I made of it that it's a new attempt to turn him babyface or to get people to cheer for him, with the idea that they're bullying him over a drug test failure that he was, admitted and apologized for like a man, and that he should be respected for it. And, Dean Ambrose, the other babyface, said that, he should be respected for it, but the heel, Seth Rollins, said that he's a disgrace and he should not be allowed in the championship match. So that makes it a heel viewpoint. And that's the attempt. So we'll see when he comes back if the people buy it or not.
Yeah, see, that's it, Dave. I don't think the people are going to buy it. I think the people are going to react, and they're going to chant steroids at him. I think when he comes out for that match at the pay-per-view, that crowd's going to crap all over him.
We're going to find out. I tend to think the same thing. I think that I was watching it going, I can't believe they're trying this, because I think it's going to, my thought was it's going to backfire.
Mm-hmm. Well, it didn't seem to make any sense at all. I mean, I think...
No, and the crowd didn't feel like that they were sympathetic towards Roman Reigns at all when he was saying it. Yeah. And I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, but I don't think it's going to be pretty.
It hasn't been so far.
True.
Tomorrow night on Raw, Dave, it is a holiday, and it is going to be a very low-rated and viewed Raw. Aside from the incredible title match that we'll be having between Rusev and Titus, what do you expect for tomorrow?
Well, they got a U.S. versus international elimination match. I don't know who's going to be in it.
Is that tag teams? It's tag teams, right?
Is it? I don't know. I just know it's 8-on-8.
Oh, I thought it was some tag teams. Yeah, U.S. versus the world.
It could be.
Yeah.
I just know it's an 8-on-8 match, and then there's Miz and Dean Ambrose in a rematch of from SmackDown, champion versus champion, and basically the rest is going to be building up the pay-per-view. The matches Charlotte and Sasha and Cena and AJ.
But you think they'll really do that much this week, Dave, when it's July 4th? I mean, how many people are going to be really sitting around watching Raw at 8 o'clock at night? I
wouldn't be wasting a good angle this week.
Yeah.
And next week's not going to do so well either. The Home Run Derby usually hurts Raw ratings. So you really, the next show that's going to get a normal audience wouldn't be till the 18th.
Mm-hmm. And of course, they're teasing something with Ambrose doing a holiday barbecue. So know what happens with holidays and food in the WWE, right?
A food fight.
Yeah,
well, that'll be wonderful.
Yeah, I see that coming.
Well, you know what? At least the WWE can control who wins and loses, and being an entertainment,
and they can make superstars like nobody else.
That's right.
Yeah.
At least
but they haven't in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you would be believing if you did not know the business, but read Business Insider magazine this week, because Stephanie McMahon had a very interesting interview that involved the UFC, WWE, and Brock Lesnar, and just seemed like she just buried the prospect of Lesnar coming back after losing. Like, if he loses, he's done, according to what she said earlier in the article.
Yeah.
I don't know that I saw it as that, but I just I saw it as her being asked a question that she knew the corporate answer, which is that that we're scripted and that they're real, so therefore there's no crossover of fans, which is, of course, ludicrous.
Yeah.
Well, and the rest of it I just thought as someone talking who had no idea what she was talking about.
Yeah, and even to say things like, well, you know what, we're entertainment, and this UFC is a competitive sport. Come on, we all know it's about entertainment.
Everything is entertainment. I mean, that's the silliest thing of all.
Yeah.
Is when they say that. Plus, it's like, the audience, again, how big is the crossover audience? We can, debate it, but we know it exists and we know it's significant because it was proven, so many times when WWE would run pay-per-views on a Sunday after a UFC Saturday and got killed.
Yeah, exactly. And this other thing that she said about how, if someone loses in the UFC, well, that's it, they're done. Their credibility is no good.
Well, the whole thing is hilarious because it's like saying, well, so number one, of course, that's not true.
Yeah.
But the other, but that's like something Vince said, but it's like he said it like 10 years ago, and it's like the history has shown that UFC fans are extremely forgiving of people who lose multiple times if they like them.
Well, it builds up drama. I mean, look at Ronda Rousey. Everybody's dying to see her fight again.
Yeah, and Conor McGregor's next fight's going to do huge business.
Right.
And how many times did Chuck Liddell lose and continue to draw, and how many times, GSP lost twice before his biggest drawing fights. It's example after example, and it's just. But again, it's someone who doesn't know the product. She was asked questions on something she knows nothing about, and she gave the Vince McMahon answer, and Vince knows nothing about it. And I think that we'll see. I mean, my gut is that Vince got totally swerved by the Mark Hunt thing, and now all of a sudden, they're I don't know what they're doing because originally, if you remember when it first came out, they were promoting it, they were talking about it, and then they've gone nuclear silent. No mention. If they don't mention on Raw Monday, there will be no mention on television of the whole fight.
I don't think there will be.
I don't think.
And I don't either. But now here's the thing that's really weird though. UFC has spent all this money on like Adult Swim and shows like that, right? And I've heard all kinds of radio here of UFC ads. Wouldn't it make sense to be buying all kinds of pay-per-view ads on Raw and SmackDown this week? Because if they don't, it's like there's got to be a reason, because to me that's the most obvious. When Brock used to fight before, and he wasn't in WWE, but he came from WWE, but he'd been out of WWE for like several years. UFC bought ads, so I'm wondering. I mean, I guess we'll find out. But if there's no ads during the show, that almost tells me there has to be almost an agreement, not to or something. I don't know. It's weird.
And the other thing interesting with Lesnar, Dave, is what happens if he looks really spectacular in this fight? I mean, everybody's saying, yeah, Mark Hunt, bad opponent. But what if Brock comes out looking really good and like dominates in this fight? Do you see another fight down the road? Or
we would have to. Then there's too much money in that case. If Brock looks great, I would think that they would want to put Brock against the champion or someone near the champion level. Because you would Brock against the champion would be the biggest drawing match that they could do if Brock is hot, just because he's got the biggest name of all the heavyweights. So, I mean, and they got all these big shows coming up. I mean, could you imagine Brock going against Stipe?
Right.
If Brock is hot and wins spectacularly at Madison Square Garden in November, I mean, that's just a natural to me.
Mm-hmm. That would be complete and utter insanity. But I would guess that the WWE would be able to not let that happen.
They would be able to, but the same deal financially. I mean, if there's part of that, the one thing I think we can say for sure is that whatever deal they made had to be flat money because it was a percentage deal. Like you get a percentage of this pay-per-view. WWE would not be going so silent on it because they'd be getting money off
trying
it.
to push
that
it.
tells me there's no percentage.
Do you feel, Dave, with the addition of Brock Lesnar on this card, UFC 200 will be the highest bought pay-per-view of all time for UFC?
Man, you know what? I don't feel it today.
No,
but I mean, I don't reject the idea, but I don't know. I don't feel Jones and Cormier as hot as it was the last time.
I think it's been overshadowed by
Brock.
Brock.
Yeah, exactly. The Brock Lesnar fight, I think, is getting all the attention now.
Well, you know what? Then it's up to it's a question of Brock. Again, Brock is coming right directly from WWE as opposed to being 4 years removed from WWE. Plus, Brock is a much bigger star today than he was when Brock started and had his first fight with Frank Mir years ago. So all those things tell you that Brock should mean a ton on this show. So, again, when Brock first started, I mean, he did, I think, like 550, 600,000 buys on his first show, and that was with no undercard. This is the other thing is, again, this is the strongest card as far as depth goes that UFC's ever put on. I mean, you got guys like, you got Juliana Pena and Kat Zingano in a prelim. You got T.J. Dillashaw and Rafael Sunsao, which is almost like a title eliminator match in a prelim. You got one
Johnny Hendricks
and Kelvin Gastelum's in a prelim. King Velasquez is in a pay-per-view opener. I mean, I look at this card and it's like, holy, Gegard Masashi's in a prelim. This is like an incredible card.
Mm-hmm. I think honestly, Dave, it does have a chance to break the record because all of my pro wrestling buddies that don't watch UFC, they're all stoked for this show. They all want to watch it. So I think it's going to draw a lot.
probably draw more pro wrestling buys. Well, I don't even think probably. This will do more buys of pro wrestling fans than any pay-per-view this year, without a doubt, right?
Interesting,
because WrestleMania didn't draw a lot of buys this year because of the network.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, that's a very interesting point, actually. That's where the money can go.
Well, one other thing I wanted to touch on, Dave, is we got the blocks for the G1 this year, and I just wanted to see what some of your thoughts were on this. I liked the little thing they did with Kojima and Tenzan on the show to get Tenzan into the tournament. I thought that was kind of neat, and the way they're positioning it. You know, he's been there since '85. He's only missed it once. He's won 3 times. Do you think they'll let him go like almost to the final? I'm thinking, did they let him go to the final, or can his body not take it?
I think that they give him a lot of wins. I think he's going to be alive the last day. Put it that way.
Yeah.
God, who's he? I haven't even looked at the schedule for the last day of the B block. I think he's in the B block, right?
No, he's actually Tenzan's in the A block.
He'll be in the A block, so that's with Tanahashi,
Makabe, Ishii, Goto, Fale, Tonga, Sonata, Marufuji, Okada, and Tanahashi.
Yeah, so I could see, man, going all the way to the final would be something. I mean, the way that they're doing the story, you know, it reminds me of '96 when they did the Choshu story and he won it, but I just don't see any way that he can win it.
I don't see him winning, Dave, but I see him going. I could see him in the final against maybe Shibata or something like that, because Shibata's
or Naito.
Or one of those guys, and then having the best match they can, and he puts whoever over.
I at least see him getting some big upsets. You know, like maybe a big win over Tanahashi, even if Tanahashi wins the whole thing. I kind of, but again, I don't know how Tanahashi's feeling either.
Well, that's true. I'm surprised he's in the tournament. When his name was announced, I was very surprised.
Well, he almost has to be. I think that if they don't have him in the tournament, but I mean, you got Okada in there as well on the A block. Because but Okada will probably be alive the last day. Could he beat? I could see him beating Tanahashi, but not beating Okada. Because if he beats Okada, that means that he's going to have to get a
title fight
match.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know if they want to do that.
Right.
But I could see him like getting wins over like Ishii and Tanahashi and having a real good tournament. Because he also said this is his last tournament, which to me means that they're he's going to be this one of the big stories, if not the story of the tournament.
Exactly. I agree. And just quickly too, Michael Elgin is in the B block. How do you think he'll make out in this?
Man, I don't know.
It's interesting, because they are building him up, but like, how far do they go with him?
You can't beat him too much because he's Intercontinental Champion. You don't want to bury your championship. Yeah. But I could see him. I see him maybe he's like 5-4, 6-3. I don't see him being in the finals. Put it that way.
And
I mean, when I look at that side, I really see it as Shibata and Naito are the two guys who can win it.
Yeah, that's who I'm going to go with. Shibata. I think it's his time.
I think it's his time, but I'm going to go with Naito just because I think Naito's hot right now.
All right. Very interesting.
There you have it. There's the predictions for G1. Dave, you've got a big weekend and a big week ahead of you, actually. Aside, just to go back to UFC for a second, aside from Jones and Cormier and the Brock thing, any highlights in particular that you're looking forward to for these 3 cards? Any fights?
Yeah, like John Jones and DC, Eddie Alvarez and Rafael dos Anjos on Thursday night's a big one as well. There's just a lot of fights all weekend.
I really want to
see
see Claudia and Jenna from Ultimate Fighter. I think that fight's going to be wild.
If you watched Ultimate Fighter, I mean, that thing's been built up real well. And the other thing is they really did fight a pretty even fight the first time.
Right.
I think Joanna's maybe improved more of the two, but stylistically, I mean, in a 5-round fight, if Claudia can take her down in 3 of the 5 rounds and control the rounds, she can beat her, and it is a pretty big grudge if you watch that show.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, well, we will chat with you after all the festivities. Enjoy Vegas, Dave, and all the Wrestling Observer parties that you're having this week, and we'll talk to you next week at this time.
Okay, have a great week.
There you go. Dave Meltzer, WrestlingObserver.com is where you can find all of his work.